So today, we're going to take a tour of Tillman Ridge. This was an active landfill in St. Johns County for over 20 years, and now operates as a transfer station for the Solid Waste Division. A lot has changed since it was first acquired in the 1970s. The rich history of Tillman Ridge perfectly showcases how solid waste management has evolved over time. On this tour, we're going to learn about the history of the area, its time as a landfill, as well as the current day transfer station operations. Tillman Ridge spans 425 acres and is located on Allen Nease Road. Allen Nease served as a county school board chairman for 17 years and was a pioneer of Florida's reforestation and conservation efforts right up until he passed away in 1983. He owned much of the property in the area at that time. Tillman Ridge was one of the highest elevations in the county and nothing but timberland when it was initially acquired by St. Johns County. From the mid-70s to 1985, the northern piece of property was primarily utilized. They dug deep trenches called cells, buried garbage, and covered it with soil. It could be commercial, residential, or even hazardous waste. There weren't any regulations set by the Department of Environmental Protection at the time. There also wasn't a formal residential curbside collection program for county residents in the 70s and 80s. A couple private franchises were your only options for getting residential garbage picked up back then. In 1985, they transitioned to Phase 1. Instead of digging cells, this time they started at ground level. There was some DEP guidance and oversight by this time. To isolate the garbage and protect the surrounding environment, they used a clay bottom liner. They would also cover the garbage every night with a layer of soil. This kept everything contained except for the working face, which is where they would begin dumping and compacting garbage again the following day. In 1989, the DEP required that hazardous waste be removed from the waste stream. As a result, a designated hazardous waste area was implemented, with a locker and protocols for special handling and disposal. That same year, St. Johns County began its MSBU and residential curbside collection program for residents. By the 1990s, they had transitioned to Phase 2. This involved capping Phase 1 and then prepping and developing the southern portion of the property. This new era brought with it new technology, new techniques, and more guidance and regulation under DEP. This time, instead of clay, they put down a synthetic bottom liner that was completely impermeable. Just like before, they would dump a layer of garbage, then cover with a layer of soil every night. It was a costly operation with all the heavy equipment, the 7-to-1 garbage compaction, and the constant purchase of new soil for the daily coverings. In 1999, the Phase 2 landfill was closed. After years of layering garbage and soil, it had become a sizable hill, raising up over 60 feet from the surrounding terrain and over 100 feet above sea level, making it one of the highest points in St. Johns County. For Phase 3, Tillman Ridge was transitioned to a transfer station, which is how it continues to operate to this day. During this transition, operational costs for garbage disposal went from $99 a ton with the active landfill to only $57 a ton as a transfer station, transporting residential waste from St. Johns County, Florida to a landfill in southern Georgia. This decrease in processing costs has been critical as our area continues to grow in population. In 1999, Tillman was receiving 150 to 200 tons of waste a day. In 2020, we now process an average of 260 tons a day at Tillman Ridge and 550 tons a day at a second transfer station we had to open in the northern part of the county on Stratton Road. Managing an active and even a closed landfill requires a lot of maintenance and oversight. For instance, trees began to grow back in the northern portion of Tillman. The taproots started to get so deep that they were allowing rainwater to percolate all the way down to the garbage below that had been buried back in the 70s. The trees and stumps had to be removed, and the wood was used for paper production and construction projects. The contaminated groundwater was then diverted to a pump and treat station. Wells were dug, and the contaminated water now gets pumped up to a pond where it passes through a sand and gravel filter and has to be tested regularly. In 1997, a gas vent system was installed in Phase 1 and 2. A gas called methane is created in the decomposition process as waste breaks down. Trenches had to be dug, and perforated pipes surrounded by rock were buried throughout the landfills. These pipes connect to vent stacks up above ground that allow the gas to escape. Monitoring erosion is another ongoing responsibility. When Phase 1 and 2 were closed, they were capped with a liner and covered with soil. If the soil erodes, the absence of weight and downward pressure will allow the methane to rise to the top instead of going through the vent system. As a result, the gas will make the top liner bulge like a balloon. It then has to be cut, relined, and covered back up with soil, which can be a big project. Leachate at the landfill also has to be managed. Leachate is the liquid created when organic materials decompose and mix with any other liquids and chemicals that have been discarded. Rainwater can also percolate through a landfill and add to the leachate. The leachate collection system captures this liquid through a series of pipes that run along the bottom liners and then pumps it into storage tanks. From there, about 5,000 gallons a day are pumped to the wastewater plant for treatment. Mowing, methane gas monitoring, groundwater monitoring, and DEP reporting and inspections are also ongoing duties at Tillman Ridge. One of the objectives of the Solid Waste Division is to not only manage the residential solid waste for the county, but to also protect the surrounding environment. In the spirit of this, many wild palms that grow at Tillman were transplanted around the county during a beautification initiative. Many of them can still be seen today. Furthermore, man-made wetlands and mitigation ponds were built at Tillman to not only offset the footprint that was developed for the landfill, but to also provide green space for wildlife. As a result, Tillman Ridge provides the perfect setting for observing some of Florida's native wildlife, such as alligators, sandhill cranes, snakes, wild hogs, and deer. Wildlife isn't the only thing you can see at Tillman. Because of its rural setting and absence of light pollution, the night sky can be breathtaking. A viewing platform was even constructed on top of Phase 1 for the local astronomy club. There are other examples of secondary utilizations as well. For instance, the RC Flyers Club has a designated area for flying remote-controlled planes, and the First Coast BMX Club has a track on property for weekly races. If you were to visit Tillman Ridge today, the first thing you would come to would be our scale. Once you drive up onto the scale, you'll meet one of our friendly weightmasters in the scale house. Depending on the nature of your visit, they'll be happy to direct you where you need to go. If you have household hazardous waste to drop off, there's a hazardous waste collection center. There, they'll accept things like paint, chemicals, fluorescent bulbs, and old electronics. Everything will be processed, recycled, and disposed of properly. There are also large containers for dropping off old tires or discarding metal items. Lastly, if you have household garbage or bulky furniture, you'll be directed to the transfer station. There, you can dump all of your waste on the tipping floor, and it will get transferred to a tractor trailer by one of our large front loaders. Those tractor trailers will then haul your garbage to the landfill in Georgia, along with all the other residential waste that gets collected by our curbside program. I hope you've enjoyed our tour of Tillman Ridge. The Solid Waste Division takes great pride in providing quality service to the residents of St. Johns County, while managing our 2 transfer stations and helping to protect the environment for future generations. For more information about the Solid Waste Division, please visit recyclestjohns.com or give us a call at 904-827-6980. Now let's keep our county beautiful.